Hello, welcome everyone to VO in Stereo. I'm your host, Jared Breshers, and always with me is
Stephen Coghill.
Stephen Coghill. I always forget if I'm supposed to do that or he's supposed to do it.
I don't know.
We're going to do it one more time. We love him. Stephen Coghill. Today, it is my esteemed privilege to introduce to you voice talent, actor, and writer, Michelle Falanga.
He still did it wrong.
Did I really? Falanga.
It's okay.
Son of a bitch.
So close.
It's Michelle Falanga. Cut it now.
And still
Falanga. Yeah.
fine. It's fine.
You know what?
Fine.
It's now
fine.
just we're done.
You did better than most, so I'm proud.
And that's been our show. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Right?
So much, everybody. Awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
welcome.
You for having me.
Thank you for not clicking the I leave button when I totally butchered your name. I appreciate that very much.
I was ready to.
Close. You were really close.
Steven's like, where's the dump button? Well, welcome so much. We're going to learn a lot about you today. We hope to have a lot of fun. So everybody sit back and prepare to learn a lot about the industry.
Yes.
Mr. Steven, would you like to kick us off with some of your questions?
I would.
sir?
Thank you so much, Jared, for being such a wonderful person. Michelle, thanks for being on the show.
Yes.
My first question, which I ask everybody, is a great question to start with, is where did you grow up?
I grew up when I was a baby, I was born down near the Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and grew up in a town called Mattapoisett, which is kind of like a seaport town. And then when I grew up there until I left for college. But so I've lived in Massachusetts my whole life. Like I'm 51 and I've never left Massachusetts. It's kind of embarrassing.
I mean, you've left it. You just lived.
Yeah.
You've always lived.
I always came back to my
see.
house. So yeah, but I grew up on the Cape.
And
Sounds like some good roots to me, actually. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fall in New England it's always been my favorite. That will always be my heart.
Lots of Indian names there.
I guess so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mattapoisett is near New Bedford area. I don't know if you've ever heard of New Bedford area, but that's a lot of history and the whaling museums and anyway. Yeah.
Were you a creative kid?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I was the kid. I was a very creative kid. Yeah, more so art and English and creative writing and not so much math, science kind of girl. Definitely liked to paint, liked to dance, I was very creative. And even so much so that I begged my mom to paint my bedroom. And she said, you could paint everything except the heater and the ceiling. And I painted the heater and the ceiling, ironically with stars on it. Now that that's come full circle, I realize, oh, right. Yes. Short answer, yes.
There's a reason for the season.
Yes. I'm very creative. Always have been.
I see. And
using all the stars, you knew you were just magical to begin with, right?
I mean, I don't know. And they called me as a child, this is going to shock you, but they called me Motor Mouth. That's embarrassing. I was the fourth child. I was I had to be I'm here.
Yeah.
Hello.
You
right.
Yeah, I get it.
That's awesome.
I was the youngest of three boys, so I get it.
Yeah.
And what drew you to be so creative? Did you have creative parents or siblings or?
Yes, very much so. I could send you a video on it. It's such a cool video I created recently. But my Pepe, I'm completely French. My mother was born in France. My father's French. My Meme and Pepe, which is like your grandma and grandpa, were when they lived in France and they were both creatives. My Pepe was a painter, a fine art painter, and my Meme was a textile designer and would paint back in the day when they would paint the actual print on the textile and then it would be transferred. So she created those things. And then they were paid to come to the US for my Pepe to paint. And they moved here when my mother, I think she was 8 or something. Yeah. And so my mother, was born there, and my mother's an artist. My mother's had major art shows and all kinds of stuff. And actually I recently, one of my Pepe's murals that I had in my home, and this is what I could send you, was this beautiful like abstract of the ocean. And when my house burned in 99, that was burned in the fire. And they pulled it out and it was like all ripped and burned and everything, but the part where his signature was remained. And I had it rolled in a ball for like 18 years. And then 2 years ago, I pulled it out, you know, and it still smelled like smoke. And I gave it to my mother, who was 87, and asked her to, I put it onto a canvas and had her finish her father's work. So
Wow.
basically my mother, yeah, pretty cool. And so I made a video about it called The Journey of a Painting. And it shows like pictures from my fire. It shows picture of my Pepe, picture of my mom, and of like the process. And I wrote it and narrated it. And it's just, to me, it's like so cool because it's got so much history in it. It talks about when my mom moved here, when she was a little kid. Sorry. Not now. I'm getting, literally my brother's calling me.
It's the dance off of VO in stereo.
God. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I gotta just tell him not now. Sorry about this.
Like, please, sir, can we have some more mute?
Okay. Anyway, so it's just so cool because she like, so now it's hanging in my home, and it's you know, it's all been like sort of repaired, but also kind of put her own stamp on it, if you will. And she finished it and then signed her name above her dad's.
Awesome.
Talk about so cool. Priceless things.
I know.
Oh my dear, good golly, Miss Molly.
It's actually like one of the coolest stories, and that's why I had to capture it in a video. And then if you click on the extended video, you can, I interviewed my mom afterwards, like interview with the artist. And I interviewed my little cute 87-year-old mom who's adorable. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to come over and hug her.
I know. And I have pictures in the video of the, you know, what it looked like before, what it looked like in the middle, and what it looks like now. So
that's awesome.
That's beautiful.
Big thing for her to take.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
For reals. So how did you get from being a creative kid into kind of falling into VO? Were you an actor first?
Yeah. So I, again, very creative, always did a lot of like creative things, photography, and, you know, just like a lot of art kind of stuff and crafts and blah, blah, blah. But then I was at a job as like a boring job in insurance. I was a secretary back in 1996. And a comedy troupe came into my company to do like a retirement party for like an improv troupe for one of the elderly people that was going to be retiring, who had been an executive there for a long time. And apparently on the day they were coming in, one of their actors fell sick. So they asked my human resources director at the time, is there anybody in your company who's funny, like that we could have help us with the sketch? And she volunteered me. And I was like
you got volunteered by HR? That's another amazing. How are you going to do another amazing story right after the other amazing story?
I have a lot of them, believe me, let me tell you. But when I think back on it, like that would have terrified. I don't even know how I did it. Maybe I was afraid like it wouldn't be okay to say no to her. I don't know. I just remember being like, kind of like really in front of like all my coworkers and my bosses, I'm going to have to like help with this sketch. So I don't know how I did it. I must have been so terrified because I wasn't an actor at that time. And they said, no, it'll be easy. You're like going to be like a makeup artist. So you're going to like have a powder puff and you're just going to pretend to, you're just like, it's a small part. It's not this isn't a lead role, my friend. So I literally was, I don't know. I wish I could go back to that day and feel like what I felt like, but I remember like I did it. Somehow I obviously did it. And then afterwards, the head of the company happened to be in that day, like subbing in, like one of the owners or whatever. It was called the Comedy Theater Productions. And they did like murder mysteries and improv shows and such. And he said, hey, you were a riot. He's like, would you consider coming and being in one of our public shows? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I'm a secretary. I don't really do. And long story short, I became an understudy to one of the people in a regular show where they did murder mysteries every weekend, and started a 24-year span of every Friday, Saturday doing improv murder mystery shows, interactive dinner theater. You know, your actors are also your wait staff, and
right. Yeah.
we rely on your generosity for our livelihood, blah, blah, blah.
I've been there.
You know, don't forget to tip the waiter, you know, like literally like passing out the food, waiter, but also singing and performing over those 24
Would you
years.
like some ketchup?
Exactly. Like literally played every character from like a homeless old lady named Shamrock Lady to like a French maid to like a broadcast like news reporter, like all different characters and accents and different people throughout the years. And it was like such a blast. I shine on like doing like the one-on-one, like the table work. Some people are better at like leading the show and being like the center of attention. I shine on the table work, like the intimate one-on-one with the people at the table. Like that's where I was the best. Because you know, and you have to improvise. Everything's improvised. Everything's like there's a scenario and then you're pretending that you're in this world. Like the last show I was doing, I was a mob wife and these people were coming to this mob party. And so you'd hug everybody coming in the room and be like, oh my God, look at you. You're gorgeous. Somebody's got to give us some food. She needs some food. She's too skinny, you know, like, and I was like this Jersey wife kind of thing. And it was like the most fun, like to just play basically every night, you know? So, and you get that instant gratification. We lost Jared.
You did. I don't know where he went. Jared. Oh,
he's like,
there.
I can't listen to this anymore.
The unmute button is right next to the video button.
And I got big giant hands and it didn't work out this time. And I'm very sorry to interrupt, Michelle. Please go on.
That's okay. No, it was just like when I think back on it, it's very nostalgic because you know you got to know, like we were with the mob show. I was with the same group of actors for like 5 years. We did the show every weekend, so you just had these like bits that just kind of started to like blend, and you always had like this back and forth. The guy that played my husband, he's hilarious, and he played off me. We had such a good chemistry, and he was like, I swear he's 29 or something, and I'm like 51. I had like a blonde wig on, and like,
hey, good for you.
I know, but like the fact that we even like vibed was like, who would have thought that would have happened? But it was, and we just would have so much fun, like just playing, and then the audience, you get that immediate gratification of people laughing and people coming up wanting their picture with you after, and they're like, you know, I was having a tough week and you made my night, and you know, or you made our anniversary or our birthday, or you know, there was just something about getting that instant knowing that you gave somebody joy. Was such a special gift, you know.
I was reading a little, I was snooping around being a little bit of a creeper myself.
Love it.
I was reading a little bit of your bio in there, and it said, oh, what one of your biggest joys in life is to bring joys to others. So which tells me that if that is truly one of your passions and is a deep part of you, it also tells me you have probably been through your fair share of the downs. And you know, not that I want to talk about that, but I appreciate and respect that, and know that's usually where it comes from, is usually a place of you know, the other side. And I can totally agree with you on making people happy and laugh, and that moment, you never know what you change in that moment. So I appreciate you too for doing that.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It definitely does. Yeah, and you're right. I have that stuff on my bio too. I don't know if you saw all that.
That should be your superpower shirt. Be like, I make people love themselves.
I try to think of like, I've been through a lot of pretty traumatic things in my life, but I like to try to, I do, you know, I have a strong spirituality, and I believe that, you know, those things may make me uniquely able to do certain other things, you know what I mean? And not that I would go through them if I could choose, you know, I wouldn't, but I like to believe that they're made for better, and I can bring a light in certain ways. And I, you know, if I'm being honest, I think the fact that I know the dark side really well makes me, and I recently just came upon this, makes me a better voiceover, because I think the biggest thing that I bring to the table, I don't have a great voice. I don't have anything special in my voice specifically, but I bring a connection, like a presence, and like a natural, like I get hired because people are like, I didn't think that was a voiceover. You know, I have I sent it to you, Stephen, but I have a goosebump reel, because that's the most feedback I get, that they got goosebumps because they felt something, you know what I mean?
Tap into emotions.
Oh my gosh. like that's like not
crazy.
hard to do.
Now, do you do it the same way as to where like you'll use moments from your past and presence, and you'll kind of put yourself back there, not develop, like not enveloped, but in that like how you felt in that moment, to bring it back, to put it towards this new character?
I don't think I even need to dig that deep. I think I'm very raw. Like I'm very on the edge of like that. And I think that I think like I don't feel like I get hired a lot for doing like inspiring, empowering, like, you know, the woman running with the, you know, she's fighting through, like she's got cancer or something, you know, just something where somebody's like pushing through. And I feel like that's my everyday life I have a lot of physical things. I have a lot of things that challenge me on a daily basis, and a lot of stuff with my vision that's really hard. We wouldn't know by looking at me, but something I struggle with every second of every day. And I feel like just to get up in the morning is like digging through mud. So for me to like voice somebody like who's like pushing through, like my voice breaks, like there's a naturalness, like it just comes out because I feel that, like, and I'm an empath too. Like I just, I don't have to try. It's there, you know, it's like really available to me, like right there.
Now, do you ever read scripts that are maybe beyond that line, but they're not for you?
What do you mean?
Like when you get the script or you audition for it, but you really don't like, usually you connect. That's why an empath, you really connect. You ever find ones that you just don't connect with?
Oh,
and you get anyway, and it's kind of like
absolutely. Like I don't do a lot of like the, you know, Ocean State job lot, like the the smiley
shiny happy
Deli reads. And honestly, like I will get hired. Sometimes I'll get hired for something, and I remember, and I'll be like, I'll literally say to my husband, I'm like, why did they pick me? There's a million girls out there that could voice this so good. Like they're like, we need it more peppy and more happy and whatever. And I feel disingenuous. I don't feel like, that's not my favorite thing to read. My favorite thing to read, like the ones that are like, it has to be perfect in this timing, and we're trying to fit a million words in, and it's very silly. I'll do those, and I do some of that. But I mean, I've been lucky that like, I'd say 80% of my work is stuff that makes you feel. So like, that's pretty amazing, right? And like a lot of the things that I get sent into my box or somehow connected with me, I don't know. I feel like there's intervention there with like a higher power, because sometimes there are things that I'm struggling with in that moment, or something that recently happened, or something just way too, like, you know, too much of a coincidence, where I'm like, and I believe like it's not even me. It's like a purpose thing. It's like your voice needs to go on this because it's gonna be heard by someone and believed, because it is so raw, and therefore it's gonna help somebody with an inspiration. And that sounds like self-importance. I don't mean like I'm self-important. I think that, to me, again, that goes to my spirituality.
It can work both ways. If it helps you in a certain way, I mean, it's not bad to sometimes be proud of what you do and have a certain type of gratitude for yourself, because not a lot of people will give you gratitude. So don't take that away from yourself. If you're out there giving joy, remember to give a little bit to yourself. Ta-da!
I just know, like for me, it's like God is the reason, and I don't want to get all too. I'm not
for the season, girl. Let's come in.
Like I'm not. I don't. Just to be clear, I'm not a like religious-y person. Like I'm not. I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not. I don't really. Religions.
You'll find no judgment here.
I know, but I just like, I never want to be like people like, oh, she's the religious one. I'm not at all religious. I just know, like, for myself, you know, that's where I get my strength. That's all.
That's good. It's very good to know.
Well, that sounds like all of your time at the you're doing all that impromptu and theater and all that. That was kind of a good studying. That was like class for you, master class. You basically learned everything you needed to know to do voiceover with.
I mean, so like I was an actor first, and then and then I said, I want to do voiceover because I want to do characters and creatures and all these accents I do. So it's like, I'm going to do that. And then I got into voiceover, and there was none of that here. So it was like, again, another happy accident or whatever. And I started getting hired for like my regular voice, which I would not have even thought to go into voiceover for. So that was kind of like an accident as well. And then that picked up. But again, I was always doing these things on the side of like a full-time job. I've always had a full-time job. And then in 2013, I had an incident with my eye. I had to have 2 major eye surgeries, and it was a pretty bad fall that year. And then I got laid off from my job. It was just like one thing after the other. And then my husband said, you know, you're really good at this. why don't you try to do this full time? Which for me was like, no, I don't do that. Like, that's not me to not have health insurance and like stability and all that. But he was like, he's like, I don't really love my job, and you are really good at this and you love your job, you love it. So like, try, you don't want to have regrets. So he's the catalyst that allowed me to do that, even though financially it was really hard, especially the first year. But so 2014, beginning of that year, I began full time and really focused on it.
But how much of a difference did it make that you knew that he believed in you and what you were doing?
Oh, I always want to sing the Beaches song to him, like The Wind Beneath My Wings. I literally, like maybe every 2 weeks, I go up to him and kiss his head and just say, I appreciate that you're the reason I can do this, because he has our health insurance and I need health insurance with all my physical stuff. So
Steve and I are working on a shot of the ghost scene where he's behind me and we're doing pottery. It's going to be really cute.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, he honestly, like I such gratitude for that. Not everybody has that. So that allowed me to play a little and explore, and, and now it's like, it took 5 years to make, and I like to say this because I don't like people to think it's like an overnight success. It took 5 years from when I started full time to make what I was making at my job. And then the last 2 years, so I've been 7 years now, have blown my thoughts out. Like, I've been like, wow, like that, and I also am aware that can go away, like, so I can't rest on my laurel. Like, I literally never give myself any time off. I need to work on that. But I work so hard for what every single client I have has been like me. Like, I don't have anybody getting me client, I mean, I've worked those relationships and built those, slowly, one by one, Well,
see, that's an interesting point, because I think your story is very unique, where you didn't really go the normal route. You didn't really get an agent and get coaching and kind of that stuff. You were like, nah, forget all those conventions and all that stuff. I'm just going to try to traverse it myself. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, more recently I've gotten, like, I've coached a couple of times, but like, I don't know, like, and I do that. I'm not someone who doesn't believe in that. I just feel like the more I pull apart a script, the more unnatural I sound, if that makes sense. So I'm not somebody, I know a lot of people take a script, they really pull it apart and they like do it 100 times. Like, I literally take a picture of the script, usually with my phone or iPad, and I don't even look at it. I walk into do the audition and I go with my natural, like I go with my gut, like right away. And I do things that some people tell you not to do. I do lead-ins, and I leave them in, and I laugh in the middle of it, or and honestly, I get hired the most for people wanting you to not sound perfect. Like, I always say, I'm like the imperfect voice, I'm like the one that, like, I'm like the cheap seats or whatever. I'm not like a fancy voice. I'm not a shiny polished voice. I'm the one that had a little sandpaper and a little got roughed up a little, but like, you believe her and you relate to her,
I know exactly what you're talking about. There was a guy on a radio that I remember, he used to read stuff like really bizarrely. It was really, he was a professional voiceover, but he read stuff really offbeat and off kilter. But, you remembered that. You were like, that's odd, but you actually would remember him. So I thought it was bizarre.
I always coach people to like bring, because they sit there, I talk to other VOs and we have camaraderie and such, and they're always like, how do you like make it sound natural? I'm like, you got to bring you to it. Like, they're sitting there like focus so much on the specs and I have respect for people's specs. And when I work with a client, I'll take a peek at them, but for an audition, I almost don't look at them. Like, I just let the words inform me of how I believe it should be read. And sometimes I'll look back and I'll look at it and I'm like, oh shoot, the specs were like not that at all, but then I'll get hired. So I don't think, and that's not always the case. Obviously, sometimes I'm sure they're like, yeah, she didn't read the spec, but whatever. But like, at the end of the day, they put specs up, but they don't always know what they want. And so like, for you to just kind of like, maybe take them as a suggestion, if you even look at them. I think that was my New Year's resolution a couple of years ago. Some of the people I work out with on VO workouts, they laughed at me. They're like, my New Year's resolution is screw the specs. I'm like, because a lot of times you would really work to try to do what they want. And then you see it on TV and it's not it's what you would have done, you know? And you're just like, why didn't I just trust my own instincts, you know? Like, you're like, you see the one on the TV and you're like, they didn't ask for that. I did that one. They didn't even, you know,
Yeah,
and then you're
'cause
just,
a lot of the times they don't even know what they want.
right. So, and you know, again, I always try to respect every one of my clients and what they want, but I am lucky to have a lot of repeat clients who just send me a script. They're just like, do you, Michelle? They trust, like, how much of a gift is that they don't even like want to tell me anything. They're like, we know you'll know how to read this. They trust me. Like,
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I love that. Like, that makes me so happy, you know?
That makes the relationship more personal, I would think, too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have
And not even have to be telling the good job. You're like, I got you.
what one time, so I went away to one of the conferences and I've shared with Stephen that they're hard for me. Like, I don't get fueled by them. I know that's like not the popular answer, but that's my honest truth.
How dare you be different?
I come back and I feel like I'm horrible. I'm not where I need to be. Like, I come back very insecure, which is hilarious because I don't typically feel that way for the most part, but I come back feeling like less than, which is, I don't like that. So anyway, I came back from the last one a couple of years back and I came back and I was like kind of depleted and I was like, I got to find myself again. And one of my clients wrote me, I had sent him off a script and that I recorded, and he wrote me back and he was like, he just wrote, Michelle, you make me better. And I was like, oh. Like, see, that just took away all the sadness I had. Like, literally, you know, I mean, I can't get any better than that. There's nothing better than that to me.
Attaboys are awesome.
Right? I mean, and he trusts me and he's a repeat client. He uses me all the time. I'm like his go-to person. So
yeah, that's huge.
It's a good relationship, you know, and I love that. That's what I'm good at, is building those. That's, you know, goes back to the table work, right? I'm better at the one-on-one. Right. I'm better sitting and having coffee with one friend, not with like a group or like a big thing. I'm an intimate person.
Two goofy bald guys.
I like two goofy bald guys. I didn't even just realize you are both bald. You are both bald.
Like a couple of eggs at Denny's.
It's like the little egg and the
That's
giant
what I had for breakfast. I love the big egg. I had 2 eggs for breakfast. See, it's all coming full circle.
Put our heads together. So, who were your influences? I'm sure you had some influences that people you looked up to, that you were like, "Hey, I want to be like this person," or "I want that voice is awesome and she's perfect," or that person. I don't know. Anybody who comes to mind?
See, I'm not.
Any young man? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, people will like throw me a name or something like, "Oh, so and so," and I don't know. I mean, it sounds stupid,
I was just curious if you know.
No, that's great. She's like, yeah.
She's like, no, I just forged my own path. No, who cares about these people on the top?
No, there are people that I will hear on like a spot or something, but I don't know who they are, and I really like their voice. And then there are people where I'm like, I don't love her voice, but maybe that's because she was directed in such a way. It's not her fault. You know what I mean? Or my husband is always like, you should have done that one. You should have done that one. You could. I'm like, yeah, they didn't care. They didn't call me. they don't even know I live here.
They don't know I exist, honey.
They don't know I'm here. Yeah. So, but as far as like influences, gosh, I don't know any like, yeah.
Well, it sounds like it sounds like your husband is your biggest fan anyway. So that doesn't.
No, he hates no.
What?
He literally
everything you just said kind of contradicts what you're saying right now.
Well, I think he's like, you better, you should get that one. We need to make the money.
Well, that's a different story.
He's my fan and he supports me, but I think he's done with, like, he stopped coming to my shows and the murder mysteries like a couple times in. He came to the first few and then he's like, you're good. You go.
You got this. Honey. You got this, honey.
Yeah, you're good. And I'll show, he listens to some of my voiceover things and he knows me so well that he'll be like, see, I can't judge because I hear you and it sounds funny to me. So I don't think he's my biggest fan, to be honest. I think he's like, yeah, that one wasn't that good.
He isn't. He is,
He's not in awe at all.
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang.
Yeah. He is very quiet, silent man that doesn't talk much. So there you go.
Oh, that's not me.
Good.
Doesn't describe either of us.
No.
I've never been invited hunting because I won't shut up, which is okay with me.
That's okay.
Nature photography is the same thing.
You want to go hunting?
I don't even know where to hunt for tacos.
Touche.
Ooh, speaking of food, my favorite question of the interview.
Yay.
What is your favorite like comfort food beverage combo, no matter where you're at? Like if you have that you just feel a little better.
Oh my gosh. My sister and I, we joke about like what your final, if you were on death row, like what would your final meal be? And she, no lie, we were sitting and talking about this and I was ready to tell her mine. And she was like, I think mine would be that salad I get at Cozy, this restaurant. I was like, pretty sure you shouldn't be saying you're going to have a salad for your final meal.
Right, like, I
I
want to
just
look
looked at
good
her like,
for...
you don't know how this works. It's not how this works.
No, not at all.
My final meal and my top thing I would want as my final meal before they killed me is a giant, gooey, warm, out of the oven Toll House cookie.
Oh, milk,
Like
no
just
milk.
like just take the whole roll of Toll House and just make one giant cookie in the pan.
Melty, gooey.
Is that not how you're supposed to make them?
I don't.
Oh.
Oops.
I never allow myself to eat that kind of stuff. And that would be my final meal. And that would be all I would need. I don't need that.
That kind of brings up the next thing I read about you that I've struggled with too is weight loss, man. Way to go. First of all, hell yeah for you. I mean, pardon my French.
Thank you.
But wow. Can you tell me some about that, please?
Yeah.
You don't mind?
I lost 120 pounds. Thank you. Slowly over a couple years it took. Gosh, it's honestly, it started 2003. I have like really high cholesterol, even though I don't really eat meat. But my family history, my family all have high cholesterol, and mine was like really bad. I think I weighed 275, I'm going to say. And my cholesterol was off the charts. And my doctor, he'd done my like CRP, like levels in my blood, which is like your cardiac risk profile and your like inflammation and all that stuff. And he said I was like at like the highest risk for a cardiac, like a stroke, or like I was on like I want to say I was in my 30s, and I was like the high risk to have, an event and stuff. And he was like, you need to go on statin drugs. And I was like, I'm more so even now, but like back then I was like, statin drugs can cause cataracts. And I've had, as you probably know from reading my thing, I had a major eye surgery in 2000 when I was 30. And then I've had 8 surgeries since then on my retinas for tears in the retina. My retinas have torn a bunch of times. And so these are like, my eyes are like a constant stress, worry, fear, like I have to constantly watch them. I also have a strobe in my vision that never stops since those 2 surgeries in 2013. That is always going. Like when I'm talking to you, there's like a strobe going all the time. It never stops. So I have to work through a lot. That's the mud I was saying. I have to work through on a daily basis to just talk to people, be present, work, be a wife, be a friend, all those things. And I already have cataracts. I had cataracts at 30 from the first surgery. So I was not willing to add to that. So for me, it wasn't about weight loss so much as finding a way to get my cholesterol down without going on a statin drug. So I think that was good for me, because if I had been trying to like lose weight, I don't think I would have lost the weight, because for the first 6 months, I didn't lose any weight. My body was kind of like stopped, I think. And so all I did was become a sponge and learned everything I could about cholesterol and lowering it, and like eating flaxseed and cinnamon and, just no trans fats. I became like obsessed with how to bring your cholesterol level down naturally. And I did everything you should do. And then I went back to him 6 months later, and I hadn't lost any weight, but that wasn't my goal, right? My goal was to just bring my numbers down. So it was funny and I walked every day for an hour, no matter what, rain, 6 feet of snow, didn't matter. And my doctor was shocked that my blood work had come down more than a statin would have taken it down in 6 months. He was like, I don't know what you're doing, Michelle, but keep doing it. And, because I asked him if I said, give me time to try to do this on my own. So he gave me another 6 months, and then my body kicked in, and then my body would it's almost like it was like, it had to wake up a little. And then after that, I started dropping the weight slowly. Again, I didn't do it fast. It took me, it took over 2 years to lose 115-ish pounds. And you know, it was hard and slow, but interesting. And I wrote a play around the time about it called Conversations with My Fat, kind of about perception. And, you know, because I remember getting really lean, like really lean, and for me, and I remember being more like not insecure, but more like not liking things, like, oh, because this is smaller now, this looks too big, you know, like what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. You know, when you kind of like beat yourself up, and like more so than when I was 275 pounds. Like it's like it wasn't like a healthy like mindset, which I did not like. So I immediately I wrote about it because I'm creative, so I write, and I'm a writer. So I remember a specific incident where I was at the gym, and I was at my leanest, and I was like doing some weights, and this other woman, and I was like looking at myself and like, wow, look how far you've come, look how strong you are. And then this girl came in front of me and started working out in front of me. And she was just like a smaller build of a girl, like just little. And within a split second, I looked at her, and then I looked back at me, and all I could see was that I was like really fleshy and like big. And I was like, okay, that's effed up. Like, no. And I remember coming home and writing that down and writing that whole story down and being like, no, like, I'm not going to be that girl that is this lean and is like saying she's fat. Like, I don't want, that to me is more unhealthy than being 275 pounds. So I decided that day, like, I'm not doing this. And, you know, I've probably put back on like 10 or 15 pounds since then, but I'm more at like a weight that's more maintainable. And definitely love myself in all the imperfections that I have. And I try to remind myself of that whenever I get, you know, it's like, you don't want to talk bad to yourself. Why would you talk bad to yourself? You know,
the person you're supposed to love one of them
right,
most. Yeah.
Right. And I think we as women, especially, I'm sure men do this as well, but we talk, I've counseled other girls to be like, okay, pretend when you're talking to yourself, and I have to remind myself of this too, when you're talking to yourself, pretend you're talking to yourself as a 6-year-old. Would you ever say your thighs, you know, would you ever talk like that? No, you'd be like, you're awesome. You are perfect the way you are. You know, that you wouldn't speak. It really reminds you of what words are really dangerous to be talking to yourself that way. You know what I mean? And it's a good exercise to do that. I mean, I'm not perfect at it. I've gotten so much better at it, at embracing the imperfection. So, but yeah, I had to write about it because it was so like upsetting to me that I actually had that perception, that skewed perception for a little while there.
What do they say? Progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And they always say like, eat or live like you love yourself. I love that one because it's like, if I love myself, I'm going to live like I love myself. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to do bad things to my body or to my spirit or to my heart. You know what I mean? Live like you love yourself.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
It's tough to get rid of that residual self-image, though. You know, that
totally.
you still have in your head.
To this day, I joke about it, but I won't go into like I won't go into a non-handicapped bathroom because I don't think I can fit in the regular bathroom.
You're so silly.
And I don't like sitting, not that you do that right now with COVID, but like sitting on a train, like the seat, because I would always spill into the next seat. And I was always like, and I mean, I think my ass fits in the seat right now, but I don't know. I haven't been on a train in a while, so maybe not. I don't know. I got the COVID-19, the freshman 15.
Yeah, like right.
That's COVID-19.
Everybody's struggling with that right now.
Yeah, it's been.
They were like, dad bods are in, so I went and got 2 of them.
Yay! High five.
So, what are some of your biggest clients that you've worked for, if you can tell us?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
anything you're
I know
proud
I
of?
put together. I'm sorry.
Anything you're proud of?
I mean, so Nike is that's my dream client, and I've done a couple Nike things, but they've been for like Nike in Brazil, and then I did like a Nike spec commercial. Like I feel like I should be the voice of Nike. They're not calling me. I'm like,
I feel this too.
Nike? Hi. What?
Just do it. Just do it.
Seriously, like I feel like
do it now.
And I always wanted to be the voice of like the opening of the Olympic Games. Like I feel like that would be perfect for me. I've had a lot of like big names, like, you know, your Target, your Amex, your, you know, I mean, I have a picture that has a lot of logos. I can't even think of them offhand right in this moment. I'd have to look it up, but I think so I, the Amazon and, like big names and stuff like that. But like, honestly, I feel like one of the things I'm the most proud of is this little drum show that I did where it's like, it was live in like a stadium. I became like a voice of a lot of drum. I've done like 18 drum corps shows, and I'm like the voice, and it was like a thing where it was like, did you ever see American Beauty, like the movie?
I did.
Kevin Spacey, nobody likes him, but Kevin Spacey at the end,
no comment.
I know, no comment. He talks about the last moments of your life and how they go by you, and you see your whole life before you die, kind of thing. So I read that monologue, and it filled a stadium, and then they had this beautiful music with it, and the people were like doing like the choreograph for the drum show, and they panned out to see people in the audience, and it's a poignant monologue, and people were like tearing up, and just that I got like goosebumps just seeing like the whole stadium filled, like a football stadium filled, and your voice fill the stadium, and people getting emotional, and these people that worked so hard for months and months on this like choreography with this music and their dance and the whole thing coming together. I want to say I got paid like $200 for that, and to this day that's still like my favoriteest thing I've ever done.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
especially when you're in front of that many people.
And I did a drum. I ended up becoming the voice for the Sandy Hook in Newtown, Connecticut. Their band director reached out to me because he had heard some of my previous drum work, and he became a good friend. His name's Ricky. He's lovely, and became a good friend to me. And I voiced a bunch of their stuff. Like the shows always have like a theme about like being a light in the world, all the stuff that we talked about, right? Like through hard times with being a light and PTSD and all this stuff. But like, it's about, so I did one about like light, shine your light on this world, and it was about stairs, and it had like these steps and stuff, and it was just like a beautiful, meaningful, choreographed thing that he did with them. He worked with them. He's a wonderful talent, and so I got to voice that. It was, these are not high paying things, but they're amazing, So.
How are your paradiddles? Are you a good drummer? I'm just kidding.
I'm like,
She's
sorry.
like, I have no idea how to drum. Why are you asking me?
He's like, what's your part in the marching band?
I was in the drum line and I was so good.
I would actually, if I had to pick an instrument that I would want to do, it would probably be drums or the violin.
Ooh, what would the name of your band be?
Slipper Liquor.
Slipper Liquor. That's awesome. Slipper Liquors.
Story behind that, but I don't think you have time.
No, but you were fast with that one, so I was amazed.
It's fantastic.
I thought maybe you had to think about it, but you were like, "No, I've got it already. No, it's already
Slipper Liquor.
Locked and loaded."
She already knows that she wants Slipper Liquors, and she played the drums. What would your spirit animal be?
Oh, a rabbit.
Nice. Wabbit. They come to kill the rabbit.
Well, you can't see him, but there's a giraffe.
Yeah, there's a giraffe back there.
People are gonna think I'm crazy. I'm like, there's a giraffe. No, you don't see him.
Like the
it's
killer.
a constellation of the giraffe stars. You can't see it. Well, Reginald, you're ridiculous.
See, I'm not lying.
Ah,
Yay!
There's the giraffe.
What is the giraffe's name?
Now she's in San Francisco. Now she's gonna.
Now we're in Delaware. Where is Delaware?
Oh, yeah, there you are with the wig.
Donnie and Marie.
Donnie and Marie.
Yes.
Donnie and Marie.
So have you had any kind of coaching at all?
Like when I went to those
VO Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, everybody told you had to. So I did do a little bit when I came back, and they were fine. Again, I don't know, like it sounds
fine.
Like no, they were great. They were
It's a rousing endorsement.
No, they were good. And the people that I did them with were very strong, coaches and amazing. And I've referred other people to them.
Yeah. It just wasn't for you.
No, it's not that it's not for me. That sounds horrible.
I'm just trying to figure out Michelle.
She's like, you are the ones who needs help, not me.
I don't, it's not like honestly, it's not like I think I know it all. It's not, I don't know. Like I said, I think for me, when I overanalyze something, it becomes unnatural. Does that make sense? Am I a weirdo?
No, that actually makes perfect sense.
if you figured out how you work best, then you're already beating 80% of the people out there that are striving to try to find their niche, where they belong, how they feel, where they're comfortable. Um, that's like the number one rule. Don't listen to anybody else's rules.
It's so hard because you do go through the self-doubt and the like. I mean, I go through that. As successful as like I feel like I've been this year, especially. I feel like I go through just like I'm very, just like everybody else. I go through like times when it's like nothing for like a week or something, and you're like, oh my God, I suck. I should just leave this. I should find another job. Like nobody loves me. Like, and I'm like, what is wrong with? And my husband's like, talk to me in a couple days, and then and then it'll ebb and flow. I honestly have still not gotten used to that. Like I don't know how anyone gets used to that. Like
it's like every Monday morning, here's another ticket for the emotional roller coaster. Thank you. Thank you.
And like it's embarrassing. Like I refresh. Anybody? No? Anyone like me? Anybody want to work with me?
Hello out there on TV.
I have to
I think the computer's broke.
I think that right. Nobody's calling because I think the phone is broke.
Is the Wi-Fi down?
So I think that I am working on this on my own, like working on trying to be okay with that. And like, not like I use like fishing. I've never fished, but I use fishing analogies. Like I need to put more fishing poles out and stop checking the one that I have out. If that makes sense.
Yes.
You're like, that worm is dried up and dead. Check out the other 7.
Yeah. I need to just put more fishing poles out.
Yes.
But like, to be clear, I think that the coaching I did was good. It was just like, I haven't continued on with it, I guess.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So would you recommend people that are starting out in the business going your route, or do you think that I mean, I think you're kind of in a different position where you you started out doing improv, and I think that helped you do your scripts, and I think that's why you want to read them fresh, is because again, that's part of your improv training. You want to keep it fresh when you walk in there. I think so.
I think if you think about it, I had a 20 something year, like you said, masterclass in how to just kind of like
wing it,
fly by the seat of your pants, right? And just, you can't leave when you're doing improv. You have to figure it out, right?
So I think that's the way you prefer it.
Yeah,
just give it to me and hit record. Let's go.
Because
not everyone's the same though, so that's a beautiful thing. People come and they'll get this information and they'll stack this information and they have to go right back to the information. You're like, oh, 70% of that was crap. It doesn't apply to me because I'm not that.
Yeah,
I won't be that. You can't train someone to be something that they're not. I mean, you can, but when you feel it and being an empath and you connect to things, you can't break that. You can't teach what you have.
Right.
And if you could, people be teaching it every day.
Yeah. And I do a workout group every week with people of all different levels. And we all read 2 scripts and then we direct people on 2 scripts. So, and I do find that hard, but like you're saying, like so you're working with all different types of people at different levels and different skill sets and different abilities to connect or not connect. And so there's tricks and there's tools and things you can like help them, like lead-ins or like start talking to me and then go right into the script. Or, there's different things that work, but it's like figuring out what works for each person. And like, I've gotten to know some of these people and they've become dear friends. And, just, I know this one, she can't, she needs I don't like to give like line read, even though there's a way I want to hear it in my head, just like a client, right? They're like, they want to hear you emphasize something or whatever, but I'd rather they got to that naturally, but not everybody can do that, or they need more of like sets. So that's why, that's what makes the world great. Like everybody's different. Right. And honestly, yeah, my path has been different. And, and again, a part of me feels like, sometimes I feel like, oh man, I'm doing it all wrong. Like everybody's telling me I should be doing this and that. And, I'm like a weirdo, like
yeah, I don't think you're a weirdo, but I definitely think you've, you carved your own path, and it's not necessarily going to be everybody's path, but I think it's a really interesting path, because I think that's our show kind of brings all that, everybody's story, and everybody's story is different, and I think somebody's going to get something from all of these shows. So this is great.
You're going to inspire someone watching these videos, and that's what I like about this show. Somebody somewhere, because we all know or should know by now that even if you're talking to a newbie who is their first time reading whatever, they may say something that makes something click in your mind.
Absolutely.
You can always learn something. So to be open, I think in this industry is huge. And you may not want to wear your heart on your sleeve, but to be open to people and things and just embracing is a big part of it too, which is great. And it's hard to do a lot of times. So I think you've done really, really well in a lot of different aspects where people really struggle, and it comes naturally to you, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, certain things come natural to me and other things don't. And I learn a lot from even from the new, like you said, the newbies that come on. Sometimes they'll give a direction where I'm like, wow, I didn't even think, didn't think outside of the box. I believe everybody can teach us something, and I'm just, I am very open to all of that for sure. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
ooh, Steven's tech question about what's your setup?
Yeah, what's your
What
setup
do you
like?
use?
Stephen, I think Stephen knows that I had when I first started out full time in 2014, I dug out a closet, put a bunch of like bedding in there and pillows and stuff, and I have a little hair clip barrette that hold my script up, and
Nice.
a flashlight to see my script, and like a mic I got, an SE brand, which is not a fancy name brand, from Sweetwater at the time, which I used up until January of this year. So for the first 6 years of my career, I used that mic and that setup and loved it, as
Killed
much
it.
as you could. Yeah. And my little closet bedding situation. And then I bought a little bit more of it's a softer booth kind of thing. But it's like, like elevator blanket kind of thing. So I moved out of the closet and the only thing I brought from there, I didn't bring the flashlight. I brought my hair barrette into there.
Moving on up.
I brought the hair clip to keep me grounded in this new space. And then I got I'm so bad. The Sennheiser MHK.
Yeah,
thing.
416
416.
shotgun. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And honestly, it took me a while to like it. Like I still am kind of like, maybe I sounded better on the SE. Like,
And that's possible.
Yeah, it was a lot more money than the SE, but I actually worked with a sound guy for a while, and he's like, Michelle, you're just a creature of habit, which I am. I'm really bad like that. And I hate the technology part. When I got my setup in the closet, I didn't touch it for 6 years. Like some guy, some people like to switch things out and move things. I'm like, do not touch it. It'll break it. Something's going to go wrong. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I just want to do what I'm good at, which is the recording or like the reading. And then I have to edit it. But, other than that, like, that's not my fun. That's my mud. I mean, honestly, I don't know that I sound any better on this. The only reason I didn't even get it because it was like, I'm in a better level and I have a better mic. I got it because I do have outdoor noise with construction. And my understanding of that mic is that it's more directional and sort of kind of blocks out some of the other stuff.
Correct.
So I got it for a purpose, not just to get a fancier mic,
Sure. No, that's smart.
Yeah.
They definitely will reject more a noise than
the SE,
huge, large condenser will. Yeah.
But I'm still getting to know it, to be honest with you.
Getting to know.
I mean, the 416 is it's a staple in the industry, but it's not necessarily the best mic for every voice. It's
right.
Just,
we go round and round about that. And I talk to all kind of new voices. Oh, I've got to have this and I got to, because I was one of those guys that was just like, oh, I got to do this and I'll sell my soul for this and I got to have that. And I was like, hold on, this 875R from Audio Technica is killing it. Just you don't have to keep up with the Joneses.
Right.
If you want pretty toys, that's cool, but not every voice is the same, just like not every path is the same.
Yeah. Now,
you do have to have a computer. You do have to have an interface. You do have to have a good sound.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how you get there is up to you, is how I feel, really.
Yeah. A lot of people reach out and they ask, a lot of people are trying to get into it. I get contacted on LinkedIn all the time and, and they'll ask me those questions and I'm like, I will always try to help them, but I'm the last person to ask about, people will be like, what's your mic? And, oh, you have a blah, blah, blah. And I don't even know the names. Like, I'm such a dork when it comes to this stuff. Like
you'd be like, I got an Optimus Prime and a GoBot and they're awesome.
I got nothing. I don't know any of that.
It's
like
more
I got the Winnie the Pooh 412.
I got a 4112 Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. Well, we need a 6899er on here, buddy.
You can tell me something and I'd be so gullible. I'd be like, really? That's great. Like, do you like it? I wouldn't know. Like,
yeah.
and maybe I should, maybe I mean, I know a little. I look stuff up because I have to, because I don't want to sound like an idiot. But not once has one of my clients asked me, well, what mic do you have? Like,
Right? It's
don't-
always the people in VO or the agents, or it's like not the people buying the actual voice.
They'll only
They're
usually
like, does
ask
it
you
sound
that.
good? All right, give it to me.
Yeah.
I love it.
no one's ever asked me that. That was like not, yeah, exactly.
They only usually ask you that if they're like, oh, that sounds weird, or there's a problem with the audio. They go, hey, what mic are you using? And they're trying to figure it out.
And the guy I worked with in the beginning of this year, when I switched to this new space, he was like, Michelle, I don't know how you booked in the other room. Like, I don't know how you booked.
No, but it sounded good in there. You said,
I thought it did. He listened to some of my older auditions,
and he didn't
was
like it.
Well, he said he could hear so much background noise in the closet, and he was like, he's like, you're an anomaly. You booked despite that noise. I was like, yeah, but not one person in 6 years told me my sound didn't sound okay.
Yeah, they didn't
so what do you
question.
think they would have?
Somebody would have said something. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
He said it was horrible. He's like, I can barely listen. It's so intense. I was like,
Be like, you're the one guy out of 75,000 that I've worked with. Thank you.
well, he has a very good ear and I don't. So like, trust him. But it was just kind of like, it didn't
Out
make
of the
sense to me.
blue.
But again, that's not what I'm good at.
Well, it's
So-
tough. I think a lot of people have to know everything, nowadays, because everybody has to record at home. So you got to know how to record yourself. You got to know how to edit. You got to know how to file,
It's a
do
lot.
naming of the files and how to send them and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot
And
of
then your
stuff to learn.
accounting, marketing,
There's a lot of
literally
stuff to learn.
everything. You're a business person, right? So
Yeah, it's a small business.
It is
it's a
redonkulous.
lot. Some days I get like, how the hell am I even doing this? Like, I don't even,
We all ask ourselves this same question.
right? You know,
It's-
I cannot tell you how much I've enjoyed this interview so far. I know that I have one more question before I let you put up or ask you from where people can find you and whatnot. I'm going to ask Steven if he's got any more questions he wants to get out there before.
I think I
Think of
hit,
anything else?
I think
You
I
covered
hit all
everything?
the ones that I wanted to hit.
Awesome. Well, this is kind of a fun question. So, well, you're kind of a fun person, so I think you can handle it. All right. So the world, all technology overnight has just vanished. There's no more technology whatsoever. Where is your place in the world? What's your job? What are you doing now? All that is gone.
so like you don't have a phone or a computer.
No phone, no TV, no nothing.
I am a person who loves, like, walking is like breathing to me. And I'm a lover of trees, like big, interesting, old trees. So I would be hiking through the woods and looking at trees.
Sweet. That sounds like the perfect way.
I love the forest, the
I
mountains,
do
all that
too.
stuff. It's awesome.
I'm more of a forest person than like a beach person. I'm like
Mountains and forests, yeah, for me,
Huh.
for sure.
Irish, 5 seconds outside.
Yeah.
They're like, do you have any suntan lotion?
It's burning me.
Is there any
She's like,
shade
"Did you see
around
that
here?"
ghost? There was an apparition on the second level. No, that's my husband. Ridiculous.
Oh, that's so sad.
I've had such a good time. Can you tell us where everybody can find you? Like, I want to book you. I want to know what's going on. I want to know about what you just did with the documentary. Give me all the info.
Oh gosh. Well, I have a website that has my acting, voice, and writing. So it's got all three on it, which is just my name, michellefalanga.com. But then I have a voice only website, which is michellefalangavoice.com. And then I have a Vimeo channel, but I have a YouTube channel I'm starting to try to like put stuff on more regularly. And I have like very few subscribers. That's not very popular.
Always subscribe.
Sounds like
Tried to
my
have
channel.
subscribers. My brother subscribes, the one who called during the phone thing. He's a big fan, and he subscribes, and he says he like watches every new one I do on his big TV. He connects like YouTube to the TV.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he's actually my biggest fan probably.
Oh,
And yeah, I love him. So my YouTube channel is Michelle Falanga Voice on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, Michelle Falanga Voice, and that's up there. I have like 8 or 9 different like samplers for different genres, like the drum genre. I have a drum genre with all my drum shows, or a lot of them. And then I have like a faith-based one. I have like PSA. I have narration, corporate narration. I have virtual reality. I've done a lot of AI work, which is really cool.
I've seen some of that. It's awesome.
Oh, it's I love doing AI voice. So fun. Get a lot of like the Scarlett Johansson sound. They want like in her, you want that. I do a lot of that, which is, I love doing virtual reality things and stuff like that. So anyway, I have a sampler of each of those genres. And then I also upload, the playlist is just for the demos. And then I have, a lot of times when I have new work, I'll just up it there. So that's probably where you see the most of my work on a regular basis.
Perfect.
Well, you heard it here, folks. You know where to find her. Give her a call. Subscribe to the channel. Steven needs some subscriptions too. Get busy, people. Click the button. Thank you guys so much. This has been another episode of VO in Stereo. As always, your host, Jared, with
Stephen Coghill.
and our friend, Michelle. I'm going to let her say her own last name because I'm not a butcher.
Falanga.
Sounds like the best dance you can do. I love it.
No.
Michelle, thank you so much. Falanga. Click that button. Do the falanga. You know you need a voice from a manga. Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we're out.